Peace, everyone. This is Minister Jew bringing you guys another appetizer entitled The Tattoo Party. Last week on our monthly conference call, we went over this technique in detail, and I wanted to put a video together so that you guys can understand how to utilize this particular principle. And so we get right into this thing. The concept, as you guys already know, is to utilize space and the zodiac in the heavens to locate areas in which we've had traumas, whether it be physical traumas, emotional traumas, financial hiccups that has happened to us in our life. This is up to you guys to find out, okay, when did this situation happen to me? In what month did this happen? All right. Once you have figured out the month, like we used OJ, let's use OJ for an example. OJ had multiple situations where every time a planetary energy would come through the constellation of Gemini, OJ would seem to have a major problem, right? Whether it was the Bronco chase or, the movie that came out where he basically quantum imaged himself into the situation unconsciously in the Naked Gun 33 and a third, in which I showed you guys on that particular conference call, all the way up to his latest release last week from the Love Lockdown facility. We see that planetary energy primarily in the same region in the late degrees of Gemini, always tend to be occupying that region of space when OJ has something very big on the horizon or some type of situation that goes public. And so you guys utilize the same principle. So if it was something for you in Sagittarius, something happened, family member passed, or, some money situations got kind of screwed up, and then you recognize that, wow, every time around this time of year, these same things tend to happen to me. That is because space is literally a hippocampus. The space itself, that black ether that we see in the backdrop that allows these stars to shine so bright and illuminate the sky, that black empty stuff is actually intelligent and it stores memory. So every time something comes through there and you charge this region of space with an emotional imprint from something that has happened, then every time something passes through that region, it will activate that soft spot. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to reclassify specific regions of space, and this is different for everybody. People have stuff happen to them, different times of the year. But what will happen is in this particular video, there will be a link in the description to take you to a almanac to show you where the moon will be at for the next 5 or 6 days. That way you can go and check this thing, every other day or so that you can know, okay, the moon's going to be in Leo for the next 2 days. And then the next 2 days following that, the moon is going to be in Virgo. So we're going to use the moon and the energy of the moon to help clean up some of these regions of space in which we've had some trauma, some stress, some anxiety, some loss, some disappointment, etc. So, like I said, that will be in the description box, and it will be up to you to go check to see, okay, doing your due diligence to know, okay, the moon won't be into that region of space until the next couple days, so it's going to require you to go over there and look at least every other day so that you can step in and activate as necessary. So we get into the technique of how this thing is actually going to flow. All right. What you're going to do is we're going to get into the power of prayer. Okay. We do a lot of visualization work in here. And we're going to add the power of prayer, which is really the I am statements that you guys make. The verbal commitment that you make to yourself, right, is another form of prayer. And I want to talk about a couple studies real quick. Um, One done by A.C. McLeish was dealing with the Hurricane Katrina victims, and what they found out was that when people prayed for them and or they were praying for themselves, what they found out was their symptoms of depression and anxiety actually decreased amongst some of the victims of the Hurricane Katrina episode. All right. And this was in depression and anxiety in 2008. Now, I've spoken to you guys before about stress and trauma and what it actually does to the hippocampus in the right hemisphere of the brain, which is responsible for all of the images that you're using to create your reality. So whenever there is stress and there is trauma, the hippocampus actually starts to shrink. Stress and post-traumatic disorders actually shrinks the hippocampus, which means what? We're inhibited from being able to create on a subjective level with imagery and tapping into the quantum field at a much lesser rate than if we were not stressed, if we were happy. So in the mix here, we see that prayer actually reverses post-traumatic stress, which means what? The hippocampus is starting to refire, it's starting to reactivate, right? So we're going to get into the power of prayer. The next study was done by J. DeZutter, right, and A. Wojholz, right? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I think I'm close enough. And it was a study done in the Journal of Behavioral Medicine in 2011 that talked about how prayer was a mediating force for pain, right? And positive reappraisal. So we know that the amygdala is storing all of the pain and the anxiety and the fear. But when these people started to study the power of prayer in the Journal of Behavioral Medicine, what they found out was that prayer actually starts to alleviate pain in the body. So we see that becoming devoted in certain prayer techniques actually has an effect on our physical bodies as well. So we're going to utilize the power of prayer in this particular technique. So what we're going to do, I want everybody to find a location in space where they had a hiccup. You know, you lost some money, you lost your car, something got repossessed. You were sick in the hospital for 2 or 3 days, or something happened to one of your children. Find the date. Go and find the date so that we know exactly what zodiac sign this particular incident happened in. That's the first thing. You got to do your due diligence and go find the date. Once you've done that, okay, what we're going to do is I want you guys to go find the star map or the star image of that zodiac sign. So just Google Gemini if it's Gemini. Google Leo if it's Leo. Google Aries if it's Aries, so that we can see the layout of that zodiac sign. I want you to actually print this out so you can be looking at these stars, right, and how they look in the sky. It would be even better if you can go outside at nighttime and locate the zodiac sign in the sky, and actually sit out and do some stargazing, if you will. All right. But once you've done that and you've printed that out, what I need everybody to do, I need everybody to go get a gold crayon or a gold marker or something gold or close to gold, yellow if you can't get gold. And I want you to draw a circle around that constellation, right? A shining, bright, golden circle around that constellation. I want you to physically do this on paper, right? Because we're gonna match the external with the internal, so that we can know exactly what we're doing on a subjective level when we start to visualize. So you're gonna take that, all right? You're gonna draw that golden light around that particular zodiac sign, okay? So that you know exactly what you're doing when you do your visualization, because in your visualization, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to visualize gold light around the zodiac sign in which you had the trauma, the drama, the accident, whatever the case may be. You're going to cast a ring of golden light around that zodiac sign, and you're going to do this when the moon is in that particular zodiac sign. That's where you're going to have to go back and check the website and the link that I drop in the description box below, so that you can keep up to date when the moon goes into that constellation. So what does this mean? You're only going to have 2 to 3 days tops to do this technique once a month. This is not something that you're going to do every day, right? So you're going to go find what 2 or 3 days is it that the moon will be passing through that particular zodiac sign, so that you can utilize this technique to activate. All right. Now, when you're doing this, right, when you're visualizing this gold light around that zodiac sign, you're going to utter this ancient Hebrew prayer. All right? You're going to utter this ancient Hebrew prayer, and it is pronounced Shavatanu Kabel Ushma Tazak Atanu Yodei Ta'alamut. I repeat, Shavatanu Kabel Ushma Tazak Atanu Yodei Ta'alamut. And what this means is, when we translate it into English, it gives you the power to renew and to restore, to revise, to renew, to restore. What does this mean? When you do this work 2 or 3 days out of the month and you're repeating this prayer as you're doing this visualization, you're sending the signal to that region in space, which is connected to your hippocampus in your brain, to renew and to restore, to renew and to restore, and to cast a protective circle so that you don't keep experiencing similar patterns from what have happened to you in the past, where the trauma or the whatever it was that happened to you or somebody that you know came and shook your world up a little bit, right? And forced you to go in a different trajectory, where it may not have been conducive for you at the time. So we want to learn how to go and clean ourselves up on a galactic level, on a cosmic level. All right? So that's this technique. I want you guys to utilize it. If you got any questions, you guys know the email, info@theimaginationguru.com, or you can call me direct at 877-345-3797. Peace.